Good morning, everyone. Before I get in my brief remarks, I want to do some acknowledgments. I want to acknowledge the Duval County School Board members. I see Chair of the School Board, Cheryl Grimes. Thank you for being here. To any other school board members, raise your hand. I want to make sure. Dr. Hall, thank you so much for being here this morning. To all the city council members who may be here, education advisor council members, to our commissioner, Dr. Kent Willett, thank you so much for your leadership. And to all the teachers and education advocates in our community, I would like to welcome you all to our third annual Community Education Summit. I'm glad to see so many dedicated people here today to invest in our city's young people and their education. As mayor, I believe that Jacksonville's success as a city depends on the success of our children and our young people. Education is the key to success, and we must have high expectations for our students, and we must provide them with the tools and the support they need to meet and exceed those expectations. As Anna Marie talked about last year's summit, we partnered with America's Promise and Alma Powell to discuss the importance of education and graduation rates. And our goal is to see 90% of our high school graduation here around the country. And in Jacksonville, you know, the mayor wants 100% graduation rate in Jacksonville, Florida. I think every kid should graduate from high school, and we can do that. Do you believe we can do it if we work hard, work together? Come on. I think as the mayor, we have to work together, and that's why I've launched some of the programs that was announced and talked about earlier, the Mayor's Mentors, having caring adults mentoring our young people so they can stay in school and reach their God-given potential, making sure that our young people are exposed to the possibility of going to college by living on that college campus in the summertime, and having a summer job, learning and earning, teaching them accountability and responsibility. I think all of those things are important. You all know that if our kids are prepared and ready for a career, ready for college, the city will be very, very successful. And so that's why I'm honored to have Dr. Freeman Hrabowski, who will lead this conversation in a few minutes. But you saw the video. I'm very honored and humbled to have him here. Let's give him another round of applause. I think as a city, we seek to have those partnerships that will allow us to leverage our assets, investing our young people, and making this a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And I can say we have a school superintendent, we have a school board, we have the best corporate community and nonprofit community in this city, second to none, that believes in education. So let's give them all a round of applause for working together. So as a part of Dr. Hrabowski's visit today, we have agreed to partner with the university to support our Learn to Earn. So we got this partnership that I'm proud to announce today that we'll be working together. So let's give them a round of applause. The city of Jacksonville and his great institution will be focusing on to empower our kids in the STEM area in science, technology, engineering, and math. And I'm very proud of that because I believe that these kids in our city can achieve and live the American dream. I say it many times before, and I truly believe education is a great equalizer. If you work hard and study hard and play by the rules, you will succeed and achieve academically and in life. Studies show that students with a college degree earn significantly more over the lifetime than those with only a high school diploma, and we all know that. So as mayor, I want to encourage our young people to study hard, to stay focused, so they can achieve the American dream. It doesn't come easy. There are no free rides, but I think with mentoring and support, they can make it. I believe in order to compete in the 21st century, we have to position ourselves, and education will do that. So thank you for coming today. I'm happy to see all of you here and engaged, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Let's give him another round of applause. While we're speaking of people who have made this wonderful event possible, many of you know that Jacksonville has a very amazing, generous, civic-minded business community. But the outpouring of support for this particular event has been really remarkable, even by our standards. More than 15 companies answered the call to invest in today's goals that we've set for this event. And their generous contributions help ensure that every child in Jacksonville has an opportunity to succeed in college because they directly support our own young people in programs like Learn to Earn and the Mayor's Mentors. And you'll get to meet some of these students coming up a little bit later. But one company, Florida Blue, has played a very special role in supporting Mayor Brown's education initiatives through stepping up to the plate as the presenting sponsor for our community education summits for 2 consecutive years now. Let's give them a hand. A little bit more about Florida Blue. Florida Blue is a leader in Florida's healthcare field with staff that is dedicated to the goal of helping people and communities achieve better health. I'm pleased to welcome Amy Ruth to introduce to us our keynote speaker today. As the interim Chief Human Resource Officer at Florida Blue, Amy is responsible for setting and implementing the company's human capital strategy. In other words, she's basically assembling a talented and caring healthcare staff from every workforce as we are preparing students for now. A little bit more about Amy. In 2014, she was honored by the Jacksonville Business Journal as a woman of influence, identifying her as a woman who is making a difference here in our community, both personally and professionally. She's currently serving on the board of directors for the Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center and chairs their board governance committee. And she's also a member of the Jacksonville University External Advisory Board for the College of Health Sciences. Let's welcome Amy Ruth.
Good morning. It is my pleasure this morning to be here to represent Florida Blue. We are very proud sponsors of this exceptional community event. I want to thank Mayor Brown for his support and leadership on education in our community. Well, we've all just seen the 60 Minutes piece, so it's pretty hard to top that. And last night I had the pleasure of listening to Ronnie Belton introduce Dr. Hrabowski, and they were college roommates, so I certainly can't top that. We know he's from Alabama. We know that he has an exceptional legacy in education. We probably would believe that he proudly proclaims his university as a nerdy kind of place. I think when you look at a man who's earned more than 20 honorary degrees from places like Harvard and Princeton and Duke, and yet he gets goosebumps from doing math, he's probably onto something the rest of us should know. He's single-handedly leading the revolution to think about how cool it is to be smart. So be prepared to be inspired. Please welcome Dr. Freeman Hrabowski.
First, I love her introduction because it was brief. You know, the longer the introduction, the older the person is. So if you're getting old and you get a long introduction, you realize how depressing it is when they go on and on and on. So that was great. That was really great. And Mr. Mayor, I'm delighted to be in your city. I told you last night, and for those who were here last night, I told you, I've always known Jacksonville since I was 15 because my college roommate is from Jacksonville. And every time it snowed up in Virginia, which was the north for us southern boys, Birmingham and Jacksonville, and we were not accustomed to snow, I would at least try it, but he would literally almost cry and say, I want to go home. I want to be in Jacksonville. So this morning, when you all are thinking this is, he was saying, look at this weather. We're so sorry. I'm thinking, my God, this is wonderful weather. Because my campus is closed, I mean, yesterday and today. This is wonderful weather. Give your weather a hand. You got nice weather here. It's great. And we do get students from this area, and I want more. I'm delighted about this partnership because we're getting some good kids from here right now, and we want more. I begin with poetry. William Carlos Williams once said that it's difficult to find news in poetry, and yet men die miserably every day because of a lack of what is found there. It was our beloved and now the late Maya Angelou who said more than 20 years ago at the installation of another president, Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it, this dream, into the palms of your hands. Mold it into the image of your most public self. Sculpt it into the shape of your most private need. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face and say simply, very simply with hope, good morning. Good morning to Jacksonville. Good morning. Give poetry a round of applause for poetry, for poetry. For those of you here last night, you heard me say, first of all, give the children a hand this morning for the lovely singing this morning. If somebody can give me some water from somewhere when you get a chance, somebody give me some water. Thank you. Last night, how many of you were there last night? Let me tell you, that the classical playing, the music, was lovely. It really was. And I mentioned that I knew the name Stanton High School because Ronnie had been in the symphony band, had been in the marching band, and this track player knew classical music. I was shocked. I mean, this was 40 years ago. You know, most athletes don't know classical music. You all know that. Come on now, let's be real, right? And my mama had made me take Chopin and Bach, right? And you know, I was a math major, so I had this notion that math majors were not supposed to know piano. It was years later before I realized that my parents maybe had some wisdom. I didn't think so when I was a kid. And so parents, when your kids don't want to do something, just keep pushing it. You know, they finally come around. But the significance was this, that even in the 60s, when we were in many ways not as wise as I hope we are today, we appreciated the value of the arts because of experiences in our schools. And that Stanton could have good music then and could have exposed children. I thought about, as I listened to those children who were not even teenagers, Mr. Mayor, when I was listening to that lovely music last night, I literally thought there were professionals over there playing. And I looked around and I saw these children who were probably middle school. Give that group from last night a round of applause because they were just that good. Thank you. So, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Probably the only time he ever did something like that to ruin that whatever does. My theme today for the next few minutes, because I really do want to pull from you, I'm going to flip the classroom. How many of you are educators in the room? Let me see your hands. Good. How many are from the business community? How many are from the broad community? This is my theme, that the way we think about ourselves as a society, as a community in Jacksonville, or as human beings, as individuals, the language that we use, the way we interact with each other, the values that we hold will shape not only who we are today, but who we will be in the future and who our children will be. And so our dreams and our values determine who we become. That is the message. You saw my own story. You saw my love of math and those things. One of the points that your Education Commission and I talked about last night, Anne-Marie, was that most Americans don't appreciate this connection between math and reading. How many of you in the room love to read? Let me ask you that question. Americans typically will raise their hands. Now, half of you really love to. You can all read if you're in the room. But loving to read really means you read. How many of you read novels every week? Tell the truth now. I know you go to church. Come on, let me see it. I know this is a good, fine town, all right? When you love to read, you read novels. You know what I mean for my English majors in the room, right? Some of the guys read the paper, you read the Wall Street Journal, whatever, you know, so you know how to read, and you enjoy reading some. But when you really love to read, you read novels. My students always ask me, Doc, why do you read those novels? Well, my mother, the English teacher, somehow instilled in me this idea that when you read novels, you come to appreciate the unpredictability of human behavior. If you think about it, when you're talking to someone, you get to know just a part of what the person's thinking. because we never tell another human being everything we're thinking. But when you're reading a book and you're listening and observing the interaction among human beings, you get this unfiltered sense of what they're really thinking. And I've often said to presidents, you know, think about it. If you get a chance to look at the unpredictability of human behavior, you get a feel for what's really behind the head of somebody, in the head of somebody. And so, for example, if I asked you this question, let me get an honest answer. How long do you think any human being can truly concentrate on what somebody else is saying? How much time? What do you think? What do the neuroscientists say now? What's the latest research? What do you think? I heard 10 minutes, 15. Anybody else? They actually tell us up to 20 minutes. But I was talking to an MD, PhD squared. Guy has a PhD in genetics and a PhD in neuroscience. He said, Freeman, we tell people up to 20 minutes, but they really can't even go that. We say that to try to push people to try to do it for 20 minutes. Now, you all are very successful people, so you all know how to fake it like you're still listening to me. But I know after a few minutes, you're thinking about lunchtime. I know that, or what you got to do. Mr. Mayor, I know you got all that stuff you got to work on, you know, but you're trying to act like you're listening to me. I understand. And here's my point about reading, about learning, about the teaching and learning process. Children, I said this last night, are truly bored in class. They're bored because our method of teaching, for the most part, is lecture. We're accustomed to lights on the person, dark in here, right? You know, because if somebody can put more light out there, I'd like it. So, see, I've been teaching math 40 years, and I'm always scared somebody's going to go to sleep on me. And the darker it is out there, the easier you can go to sleep. If somebody can give me some more light out there, I can see there's no screen up here now. If you can give me more light, because I want to see those eyes. Because I know y'all getting sleepy back there. And you see, this is important. Yeah, give them a hand, give them a round. Hey, see, teachers, you see what I'm saying? See, I know what I'm talking about. You get to a certain age and the lights go down, your eyes start, you know, you see what I'm saying? But see, you know, as a math person, I know throughout graduate school, I got to know the backs of professors really well. Do you know what I mean by that? The whole time they were at the board proving theorems. I never saw faces. And when I would raise my hand in grad school at my beloved Hampton, they would at least talk to you. But in grad school at the University of Illinois, I'm in a topology class, and I'm the only little black kid in the class, and I'd raise my hand, and I'd say, I see how you got from step 2 to 3, but I don't know how you jumped to step 8. And I'd say, how'd you do that? And every time the professor would say, isn't it obvious? With a smirk. And I'd want to say, sucker, if it was obvious, I wouldn't ask you the question. Right? Right? And here is the point about teaching and learning and about reading. If I go to the board and I present a lecture in differential equations, and you say, wow, he's really smart, and he spoke so eloquently, and then I give you a test on differential equations, and you all fail, the question is, did I teach it? No, I did not, okay? And the challenge we face in America is, number one, to support our teachers. Give me a hand for the idea of supporting our teachers. Number two, of understanding that there's no job in America more noble and more difficult than that of the teacher. It's so important. And number three, we got to help our parents understand how much more they need to do to support our children and our teachers. And number four, that our communities must work to support both families and education. Come on, give me a hand for that too. And that's why what the mayor is doing here is so important. The idea of a summit that brings us all together, because the board members know this. The more connected you get to the problems and the challenges, the more complicated you realize the issues are. If you're just looking at it from a distance, it seems simple. Because you see, we all think we can solve the problems in education. Why? Because we all went to school. So we always think there's a simple answer to it. Now, you saw my student who is in neuroscience, who's an MD, PhD at Duke. We would never try to tell him how to do surgery. You get my point? But because we all went to school, we think we can easily solve the problems. But the fact is, if we could teach every child to love to read, and to become comfortable in doing some math and to want to be smart, we could be much, much more effective in moving kids along and getting jobs and being able to create jobs than we are right now. I will give you a secret on my roommate, my college roommate, that you'll appreciate. In the early years at Hampton, he didn't care much about math. He really did not, because he had been told, well, that was not his field. But I knew, and I say this in my new book, and I say it about him in the new book, that he was good in math. You know how I knew it? Because he kept asking me questions about my calculus. You get my point? Because nobody had told him. He knew he could do the social sciences and all that, but he kept saying math is not my thing. I said, well, why do you say that? Well, no, that's not my thing. He could do okay in the grades, but he didn't see it as his thing. But he kept coming over to my side of the room when I'm doing calculus, asking me questions. He had the curiosity, and he had good questions. And he was constantly coming back. You know, it was I. Rabi, a Nobel laureate, who said when he was growing up in New York, all of his friends' mothers would ask them at the end of a school day, what'd you learn in school today? And he said, well, his mother would ask a different question. His mother would say, Izzy, did you ask a good question today? And the practice of encouraging his curiosity made him the thinker he became. And that is what I'm telling you about values. And I want Jacksonville to encourage the children, the parents, the teachers, the board members, all of us to ask good questions. Because it was the asking of the questions by my college roommate that pushed me, first of all, to think differently about even the way I would answer the question. That helped me understand the concepts more clearly. Do you know, it's one thing to get an A in a class yourself. It's another thing to be able to explain to somebody else so they understand the concept. Sometimes you can just intuitively figure out you're getting to an answer, but you're not really getting there. When I was growing up, my mother had been this English teacher, and then something came out called the new math. You ever heard of the new math? You might old enough to know the new math? And everybody was scared of the new math, and people still scared of the new math. Right? Because the universities, Mr. Mayor, were so condescending that we came in and said, we're going to tell you all what to do. One of the challenges higher ed has, if you're from higher ed, you know what I'm talking about, is we want to go to K-12 and just say, you all do it this way, as opposed to understand K-12 people know children in a way that professors do not. We may know the concepts, but we have to listen to what teachers tell us about how children work, whether it's a kindergarten child, pre-K child, and then combine what we know with what you know as partners, then you can make progress. It's a partnership built on respect for what everybody knows. Well, we didn't do that, and so we just frightened people more. Well, my mother went back as an English teacher to learn the new math, and I was her guinea pig. And so we were learning poetry on the one hand and studying Zora Neale Hurston for my English teachers. The book, Their Eyes Were Watching God. I get goosebumps now. I didn't want to hear it floating around the house washing dishes, but now it comes in your head. I mean, there are ships at a distance. Have every man's wish on board. For some, they come in with the tide. For others, they sail forever on the horizon, never out of sight, never landing until the watcher turns his head away in resignation. His dreams mocked to death by time. That is the life of men, she would say, and women. And her point was this. There are two groups of people in our society. People whose dreams are fulfilled. People like you. People who are able to be at a meeting like this to talk about other people's children and the education of all children. And then others whose dreams are, in the words of the poet Langston Hughes, forever deferred. And the essential point is that the difference between those whose dreams are fulfilled and those whose dreams are deferred, education. Where would anyone in the room be if you had not been blessed to get an education? Now, how many of you in this room are between the ages of 35 and 70? Raise your hands. I've got good news and bad. Which one you want first? Bad news is you're getting old. Get over it. I can say that. I'm over 60 now. I can say I'm blessed and blessed to be alive, all right? The good news, though, is if you're an American, you're the best educated in the world. Other than Norway, best educated in the world. Give yourselves a hand, all right? Now, who in the audience is between 25 and 34? Now look at how proud they are. Look at them, look at them, look at them. Look at them, they so proud. They say, I'm not old like y'all. Look at them, they so proud. Look at them, they just so proud. Wait a minute, look here. Some of y'all look old, so that's you may as well be. I'm just kidding, just kidding. Just kidding, just kidding to make you laugh. Just kidding, you look young. But I got good and bad. Which one you want first? Bad news is you're not as smart as we are. And I say it jokingly, but the reality is that you all are number 12 in the world. Did you get that? That the older group, number 2, your group, number 12, and it's not because the percentage of people with college degrees has gone down in the country, it's that you're not going up. Other countries have more and more graduating from college. We're not getting more, and this is why what this Education Summit is doing is so important. It's not just getting people into college, it's making sure that when they get in, they've had the skills they need, K through 12, Madam Commissioner, Mr. Mayor, so that they can get beyond not have to deal with the developmental work and go ahead and graduate from college. That's what counts. Give me a hand for success in college. That's the idea. Success in college. And at the heart of it will be these skills in math and reading and the values that they hold. I asked about the reading. How many of you like mathematics or love mathematics? Let me see your hands. Okay. Like and love. Okay. It's a pretty nerdy group. Not bad. Not bad. Well, mine is a campus. I said last night that where math rocks. We have over 1,000 of our students working for the National Security Agency. Over 1,000. We have hundreds of students who already have security clearances. A lot of my students are from other countries, parents are from other countries. The students whose parents are from other countries set the tone for everybody. They're hungry. They're hungry for the knowledge, whether they're from China or India or Russia or wherever they're from Barbados, from Jamaica. You see the difference. I'm going to give you a story. I often bring kids together from New York, from D.C., from Jamaica, from China, whose parents are from these places often. The grad students come directly, but these are Americans. These are all Americans. And when I ask them how much they study, because you hear me saying hard work over and over and over again, even my young scholars, my youngest freshman, folks, was 9 years old. I have a young scholars program. I get large numbers of children through the calculus sequence before they're 13. These are kids who come out of the Hopkins Center for Talented Youth. If you Google Center for Talented Youth, you'll see the program. Why do I do it? Because there are a lot of children who can do the work sooner, but they need support in developing emotional intelligence. You get my point? This is a challenge in America. We don't do things for those children to help them have a sense of self and to understand there are different kinds of intelligence. You may be able to get the problem sooner, but you don't know how to deal with people. So as Malcolm Gladwell says, the geniuses don't do any better than anybody else because they don't know how to deal with people. My mother, I got my worst grades in my mother's class, by the way. I did. She's the only place I got B's in the 8th grade. You know why? She knew I could get it like this, but she also knew as soon as I finished the test, I would get everything I know. And she also knew something that if there's a student in the room, if you say on that test the answer exactly as the teacher said it, they will love you. They really will. People, it's human nature. You don't even realize that you said it, but you go, wow, that's brilliant. All I did was say it exactly like the teacher said it, right? Solve the problem, do it just like she did it, or write the essay just that way. Whoa, that's wonderful. And I'm thinking, and my mother knew what I was doing. And so what she would do was change it around some, and I'd mess up every time. Every time. Because she was trying to show me, stop trying to just memorize what people say. Learn to think critically. And when I'd get angry because she'd do that, she would say, just remember this. You're special, but you can be much better. There's the message, that you're special and you can be much better. You got it? It's very, very, very important. Now again, raise your hand if you love math. Let me see it. Now, how many of you were there last night? How many of you saw the math problem I gave? Here we go. 29 children, students. How many students in the room? Let me see the students. Any students in here? 29 children. How many of you good at math and science? Okay. 29 children in the class. 20 have, I'm going to be giving this problem all day long. 29 kids in the class. 20 have dogs. 15 have cats. How many have both a dog and a cat? 29 kids in the class. 20 have dogs. 15 have cats. How many have both a dog and a cat? I've given the problem to thousands now. CEOs, mayors, governors. All right? And it was in the Baltimore Sun, and most teachers will have and the reason it's such an important problem, it is symbolic of a challenge we face in America. I work with the International Math and Science Competition. I look at the results of the NAEP. If you don't know the NAEP scores, board members, this is the report card for America. It shows how our students do in literacy and math compared to the rest of the world. It just came out again. And we're still in the bottom half among international competitions. And the real challenge is we teach problems that will give answers like this. In other countries, children will have some problems that require much more time to solve. And they're taught to think collaboratively. I want you to write, if you're a teacher or others, look at the UMBC Center for Disease Control, CDC. It's really CDC. I'm telling you the words. It's not Center for Disease Control. It's really the Chemistry Discovery Center. But it's CDC. CDC on my campus stands for the Chemistry Discovery Center, because chemistry is at the heart of where kids have problems in the life sciences on campuses. And the key is we don't lecture. Students work in groups of 4, randomly assigned. We don't give them the theories. They're going to have to struggle to figure out the theory. We use problems out of the research park, problems from the biotech companies. And they hate it, because these are kids who have 4s and 5s on AP chemistry, and they're saying, I don't need any help from anybody. Because in high school, unfortunately, we teach kids if you're really smart, you don't really need to study with anybody else. Big mistake. We're trying to encourage high schools that are the best. And I'm working with the best science and tech schools in the country and in other countries. And the idea is, how do we teach high school students to work collaboratively on much harder problems? So look at the CDC, and it's the idea of course redesign. It is at the heart of academic innovation in the country. One significant point about the 60 Minutes. You saw the kids walking together like that? Students, did you see that they're not even allowed to have telephones? Can you imagine 17-year-olds having to go for weeks without a cell phone? Right? Or not being able to use Facebook? Now, let me tell you what is at the heart of innovation with all of that. People think that I'm the hard guy and I did that. Do you know where those students, you know where those ideas came from? From students. From students. You know what happened? We had look at the students, I love it. Look at their face. They're going, oh, they crazy? I know. Let me tell you, and for my teachers in the room, let me tell you what we've done that is so cool. Let me tell you what gives me goosebumps. The way we are able to get the work to be more interesting is to say to students, what could we do to build community? How might we help students to do much better? So after one group of students had finished the bridge program, that's before the freshman year, we said, let's brainstorm and figure out what we might do to have students learning to bond and support each other. And they said, well, you know, the real problem is, even though they were all here in the same space, from different races, different parts of the country, they were still really back at home, because they were always talking to their friends all day long, right? And they never really connected to each other to support each other. And when they had problems with classes, they just got to a friend back in D.C. or a friend in New York, and they never had to depend on each other. And somebody said in a crazy way, take away the phones next year, right? and they went from there. And when they talked about, you mean you're going to have us walking around together on campus together? They said, that's going to be embarrassing, right? We can't be cool. And they went through this process of experimentation. And so all of what they do now comes from students and graduates saying, let's try these things and see what happens. And let's evaluate and see what they say at the end. And so all of what, I was shocked, literally shocked, because people said, Dr. Hrabowski, you were really hard. I'm saying, wasn't me. It was amazing. But all of that, and similarly, the students came to me, to the educators in the room, and said about the library. They said, you're not consistent in your message. I said, what do you mean? This is the student government. They said, you say you want us to work in groups. You like the idea about having hard work, but you go to the library, you have to work alone. We can't have our food. We can't talk loud. We can't move the furniture around. As he said, so you got a 20th century mindset in every space, but you want us to work like we're 21st century people. And I always say, if you're going to give me a problem, you got to give me a possible solution. Mr. Mayor, everybody can tell you what's wrong. right? Principles, right? Give me an idea, give me a hand for the idea. You got to give me a possible solution. Give me a hand for that. It's important. So they had their solution, and it was, we will give you some of our, they get $1 million a year for party money, whatever they want to do, a part of student fees, right? They gave us hundreds of thousands of dollars to leverage our money to completely refigure the space, to have whiteboards, change the technology around, change the carpeting and everything so they could have food, certain spaces, have it as loud as they want to have it, 24 hours a day, and it's been wonderful. And it's called the Retriever Learning Center. Retriever is our mascot, and super large space. Now they send me emails showing it's packed with kids working on the floor, and they want the next one. But it was their idea, and there's my point. When you talk about flipping the courses and flipping the classroom, it's how do you pull them into the discussion in such a way that they become empowered. That it's not about being boring because they are a part of that teaching and learning process. You're not just opening their head and pouring in the knowledge. Get my point? Makes a big difference. So, okay, I'm flipping the classroom now, and we're going to get, so the question and answer is not just about you asking me questions. It's my asking you questions. Here we go. And at the end, I'll give you a story. Here we go. Why do you think it's important for students, and this is for students too, I love the fact some of the students in the room are trying to get that math problem. I see it. Oh, I can tell. Oh, I can tell. Oh, yeah, you on it. Oh, yeah, because you want to show me you're smart. Oh, I love it. Oh, yeah. And I want you to suffer. I love it. Let me tell you. I love it. You know, I did the French thing last night, and somebody said, well, how would you use some French? Because I'm showing that I'm learning something new, right? How many of you know languages? Any of you study languages? You need to study a language. How many people in the room know another language? We Americans have to learn other languages. Give me a hand for learning other cultures. And let me tell you this, math and science people, one of the things we say, because I talk about STEM board members, let me say this. We must teach people, just because you talk about the importance of STEM, we must not forget the value of the arts, humanities, and social sciences. Give me a hand for that. It's very important. So last night I was saying, I had French in high school, and in this country, when we teach a language, typically, we're teaching it for a test as opposed to preparing students to live in the world. You get my point? And so even when in college, when my wife and I took German, it was for some work we were doing involving some research, so we can read a little, but we were not learning it to be able to go to other countries and talk to people. You get my point? Some people now learn Spanish because there are a lot of Hispanic people, so they're learning some of it, okay? But in terms of being a part of a global citizenship, it's where we have to go with that, just as we do the STEM. So a lot of my students are learning languages because they're going to go and work at the Pasteur Institute in France, right? So ma fait mémoire, nous étudions le français maintenant, right? You parlez-vous français? Right? Oui, 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 right? So I use the language. I said the poem Apollinaire, the line is, la joie venait toujours après le pain, meaning the joy comes after the pain or the struggle. I figured out, I told my roommate, the athlete, the math major now, this last night, I said, you know, I can say it another way, that everybody in the room will appreciate. No pain, no gain. It's the same message. You get my point? I don't care what it is, you got to work at it, whether it's a marriage, an education, or a math problem. That's what I mean. I want you, it's not just the answer that makes you learn, it is the struggle. I love a math problem because I've got a struggle. I love a math problem because I look around this room and I'm thinking math problems all the time. How many students in the room? Raise your hands again. How many students in the room? Some of you maybe. How many of you have taken the SAT? Guess who wrote the math problems for the SAT? Ooh, before you were born. Ooh. I get goosebumps with those SAT math problems. Don't you love the SAT? Ooh, goose problems, ooh. See, I have large numbers of kids of all races who get perfect math scores, 800. How many of you have taken the A, B, and BC calculus? Ooh, fives, ooh. That's my campus, right? How many of you know you're smart? Students, yeah, okay. Let's start here. Who wants to tell me what it means to be smart? Somebody, come on, stand up, tell me your name. Give her a hand for having the courage to stand up. Tell me your name and your grade.
My name is Bruce, and I'm a college freshman.
Where?
At FCJ.
Very good.
Oh, thank you.
She sounds like she's of the theater. You hear her, oh, thank you. Like she's getting the Oscar. I love it. Go ahead. What's your name again?
My name is
Ruth.
Ruth.
Okay, go ahead, Ruth.
Okay, so being smart is not about everything that you know. It's being able to talk to someone and teach them so they will be able to know.
Oh, very good. It's being able to teach other people, having enough knowledge that you can give her a hand. That's very good. Okay. Somebody else, what does it mean to be smart? I'm using this as an example of what we do now. Come on. Somebody else, what does it mean to be smart? Students. Yes, sir.
My name is Dwight James III. I'm a junior at the Sanderson School of the Arts. What it means to be smart is to be able
Well, first of all, young man, you just impressed me with the projection of your voice. Give him a hand for that. Ooh-wee. Boy, you going someplace. Already I hear that. Now say it again, sir. Go right ahead.
be smart means to be able to exhibit the talent that you've been blessed with and be able to help others exhibit their talents as well.
That's exactly right. To exhibit the talent, you give him a hand. Somebody else, what does it mean to be smart? Somebody else, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes, please. That's excellent, excellent. Give a hand. Excellent. Willingness to learn. Yes, yes. One more, just one more. One more. Come on, come on. Come on. I see your faces. You want to say something. Come on now. Anytime you're scared and nervous, you just got to pick yourself up and say, I'm going for it. Come on, come on. All right, all right. Okay. Being curious. I like that one. That's excellent. Thank you. So let me say this to you. We have a way in our country of saying he's smart and she's not, or she's smart and he's not. Anyone who's willing to ask questions, to work hard, to be willing to learn, to be willing to take what you know and explain it to other people, and to never give up, and to be excited about ideas is smart. It's not like you're born this way or you're not. For the faculty in the room, for the teachers in the room, Carol Speck's book from Stanford, it's about mindset. It's mindset. It's not that some people are good at it and some are not. It's about what you're willing to do. If you're willing to work at it, you can do anything. That's what I want you to hear me say. That to make it, these kids who are going on to get PhDs and MD PhDs just were willing to work. Do you know, average number of hours for these students, probably 6, 7 hours outside of class and lab a day. 6+ days a week. You get that? You get that? Now, what's interesting is there are other kids who come in and they may be B students and they say, oh, I'm not a Mahoff. And I said, I make a bet with you. If you go and work with them as hard as they're working and you really get in and you immerse yourself, I bet you your grades will be as good as theirs within 2 semesters. All right? And they're shocked. They said, you know what? I got A's. Yeah. You put in the time and the effort if you have the background. Right? You got to have a background. There's the issue in math and science. You have to have one thing builds on another. Just as in French, I had to know les temps, the tenses, right? For my language people, you have to know the passé composé, the imparfait, before you can learn the plus qu'imparfait, right? One language, one tense builds on another. You don't start in 3rd year French if you don't know 1st year French. You don't start in calculus if you don't know. Let me put it another way. If you don't know multiplication and longhand and subtraction, you can't do longhand division. You see what I'm saying? So it's building and layers, reading skills, layers of understanding. And here's my most important point. You learn to do by what? By doing. By doing. And the reason I gave you the math problem, I love the fact that they're still struggling with it. I love it. I want you to be really frustrated. Now, some of them say they have it. Now, let me show you a technique here. If you have it, I will give you $100, whoever, for the group. But if you don't have it, you will give me $50. Each of you. Now, what I want all of you to see is the excitement that, they were excited before, but once I said that, did you notice? Ooh. Here's my point. We have to find ways to do what the Learn to Earn program does. And we have to find ways of helping students see that there are all kinds of layers of reasons for learning how to study and for becoming knowledgeable, from the inner satisfaction to the job, That when you become knowledgeable, all kinds of things are possible. All kinds of things are possible. Let me leave you with a story, and then we're going to really take it up for questions. That young man that spoke, that talked about, who was a track star, who's now about to get tenure at Duke, has a relative who has schizophrenia. And a part of his research and his passion, we talk about why STEM, is that he has now gotten grants leading to his being very close to have an approach that may help millions of people suffering from that disease. If he had not been exposed to the power of research and the notion of a PhD just 15 years ago, we may never have had the power of this discovery. And I looked into his face there, and I got tears just thinking, how many children in Jacksonville have the power to do exactly what he's doing if only given the chance? Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Dreams and values. Jacksonville, you are a special city, and you can be even better. Thank you all. Thank you. Questions? Please, questions from anybody.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So,
Anything but give me the answer. Anything but give me the answer. Okay. I love your personality. I love that charm. What do you want to major? What do you major in? Besides taking her job. Besides taking her job, what do you want to do?
my major.
Ruth. It was Ruth, right?
Yeah, is this work? Hello?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you and
Okay.
see you. Yeah, girlfriend, you all that. Uh-huh. We got all you need is her shoes, and you really all that. My wife would tell me that. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
My major is marketing.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I like to market myself.
We see. Uh-huh.
Oh, thank you. I don't need the answer. I've already talked to. We have the collaborative group over there.
Okay.
I just wanted to know when I would receive my $100.
I will. After this, we will have a discussion, and we will.
Okay.
All right. So just keep this thought now. It is a math problem for me, for the teachers in the room. So if you all are correct, you decide how many are in your venture capital group, and I will give you $100. But if you are wrong, each of you will give me $50. Keep that thought. Now you go figure out how many you want. That's a nice math problem for you. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
See what I'm saying? So if you got 5 in the group, each of you would get $20. But if you are wrong, each of you would give me $50. You got it?
We have to drop some people from the group.
Right? When you go to side. It's a nice math problem, though. Don't you love that math? It's a nice math problem. You go over there and figure out minimization, maximization. I like it. I love that math problem. Goosebumps. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Okay? Who else? Anybody else? Uh-huh. That's a great math problem. Think about it. You know, minimization, maximization. It really is. Somebody else. There's a question? Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Huh? What's the math problem? Somebody say the problem. Somebody, okay, somebody besides Ruth. Oh, somebody else. Yes, sir. Say it.
If there are 29 students in the class, 20 have dogs, 15 have cats. How many have both dogs and cats?
Both a dog and a cat. Excellent. Uh-huh. That is not correct. So you now owe me $50 since you gave me the answer. You may give me your $50 later on, okay? You may give me your $50 later on. I'll take an IOU so when you get it, okay? Because anybody who gives me the wrong answer, $50. You got that? You can give me your IOU, son. It's okay. It's all right. I'll wait 10 years even, all right? One of the things, American kids and adults are good for hollering out an answer. You know that, right? By the way, the only time I got the correct answer in 10 minutes was a conference of math majors sponsored. I was speaking for Gates, and it was a math conference, 1,000 math teachers. Only one person got it within 10 minutes, and she Googled the problem. Do not Google the problem. Do you hear me? Somebody else? Anybody else? I love the fact that folks are really working on that problem, huh?
Good morning, Dr. Hrabowski.
Yes.
I'm Barbara Gubbin, and I'm director of our public library system here in Jacksonville.
Good.
So first I want to welcome you to our home.
Yes, thank you.
Here.
It's lovely.
And I'd like you to join in a challenge with me.
Yes, yes.
Which would be that every child and every parent here in Jacksonville
Yes.
have a public library card and use that card. Because what you said about reading
Yes.
warmed a lot of our hearts,
Yes.
particularly mine.
Yes, yes.
Because I think it is so very, very important.
Yes, yes.
But most households
Yes.
don't have all those great novels
Yes,
to do
yes.
that reading
You're
or those
absolutely
picture
right.
books
Absolutely
in their
right.
households.
Yes,
But a
yes.
free library card, if
Yes.
you live in Jacksonville, you
Yes.
can get
Yes.
a free library card.
It is
or
an
anywhere
excellent
in this
point.
country.
It is an excellent
We'll give
point.
you those reading materials. So I hope
Yes.
you'll join me in that challenge.
It's an
to
excellent
make
point. I will
sure
talk. I will talk
everybody
about
here
it. Yes.
make sure they have a library card. We'd
Yes.
welcome offering them at our desk up front, and
Yes.
pleasure to have you here in Jacksonville.
Excellent point.
Thank you so
Excellent
much.
point. Thank you. Let me make a statement. I had the privilege of speaking, of giving the keynote for the National Endowment for the Humanities last year, and the meeting was held in my hometown in Birmingham, held at the Birmingham Museum of Art. And I could say two things. One, as a child, I could not go there. My parents took me to Boston to see what fine art looked like. But what's interesting is that for whatever reason, even though children of color were not allowed to go into the museum, they did build a public library in our middle-class black community where people like Condi Rice and Alma Vivian Powell lived. And it was the pride of our community for every child to have a library card. We took give library cards a round of applause. It was such, I mean, we carried our library cards around with us, number one. Number two, we had a book club. It was really nice, right? And it was prestige. It was really prestige. I mean, one of the things I would argue that I would really recommend would be structured book clubs for children so that they can read. Because here is the point I would make. Once a child learns to read, you can never take it from her. Once she learns to read, you can never take it from her. The real issue is how to get her reading, her or him obviously, well enough that she enjoys the experience. It's once getting to that point, it never stops. The challenge is most never get to the point of experiencing the joy of reading. Same thing in math. And that's where it seems to me the adult world is so important. That is a challenge in America. You're absolutely right. And how to get our social science literacy teachers, English and social science teachers, talking with our math and science teachers about ways of reinforcing the skills across disciplines, because we're not taught that in school, in teacher ed programs. We're not taught as a math teacher how to teach reading in word problems. We have a freshman seminar called the Mathematics of Being Human. We actually have a play now that's going around the country on the mathematics of being human, and it's a math professor and a humanities professor struggling with the similarities and differences between the disciplines. But I'm saying to you that we need structured initiatives to get children reading. I commend you on what you're doing. I really do. Thank you very much. Yes.
Good morning, and thank you very much for being here, Dr. Hrabowski. My name is Josue Cruz. I'm with the Cathedral Arch Project, and it was our students who delighted you last night and this morning.
Man, amazing.
And,
amazing. Give them another round of applause. Amazing.
It's definitely not me, it's definitely them. A quick note, those students last night were actually 4th and 5th graders.
I'm going back. We have a wonderful orchids program with the Baltimore Symphony, and my students who are in the arts, I mean, the cellists, violinists, teach the kids. I'm going to go back and see if they have gotten a group of 4th and 5th graders to that level of sophistication. I was on the board of the Peabody for years at the prep. But, and for the very wealthy children, if you get my point, but for regular kids, I had not heard a group with that. And I've had, I don't know, 8, 9 years of piano, so I know how to judge music, to evaluate. You know, people ask me if I'm good. I say, no, but I know who is. You get the difference, you know what I mean? You know enough to know. And I'm saying they were superb. Congratulations to you.
My question to you today
Yeah,
is,
give him another hand over for that. I mean, it takes discipline, the same way it does to win a track meet. I mean, that's what you learn when whether you are practicing for a track meet or it takes discipline for every level. You know, in reading, in math, in music, in athletics, to get to the next level, you got to work at it. You know, that's it. Yeah.
And my question to you today is based off of arts integration. There is a lot of research out there that marries mathematics and music studies. Yes. And I was wondering if UMBC has art integration programs in place, or if they've done any research or presented any research based off of marrying the core disciplines with the artistic disciplines. We
have. If you look on my, in fact, it's good you said that. It's almost like I paid you to say that. I'll give you that 50 cents a little later on, okay? If you look on our homepage, UMBC's homepage, while 55, 60% of the students are in the science areas, 40-some% are really in strongly arts and humanities. We have something called the Maryland Arts Day in my state. And everybody, elected officials, we go down to the Annapolis to push for more money for the arts. We have a big report right now that I supported to have arts at every level of education. And I made a statement that they use in the report that says the arts should be considered a civil right for every American child. Give me a hand for that. The arts should be a civil right, just as algebra is for every child. And it's based on my own experience and what I said about my roommate. I mean, because it's so important in our lives. But here's the point. And so I gave the keynote for the Maryland Arts, which surprised people because they think of me as a mathematician, didn't know my background in piano. But here's the key. We have a number of arts integration programs, imaging and digital arts, my computer scientists and my animation people, my music and my technology people, and it goes on and on. But the really good news, besides the fact that we were in the Final Four in soccer this year, give me a hand for that, please, Final Four in soccer. And we just made it to the Final Four in chess. Thank you very much. We're going to New York for that. For chess, please, for chess. Chess, all right? All right? But this is the really hot news. For anybody who's over 40, you won't appreciate it. The younger ones will. We just made it to the Final Four in game development. That's huge. Give me a really big, really hot. That's sponsored by Microsoft. They are flying the team to San Francisco to compete. And the really good news about that is usually it's all male, and they're usually one race or another, and you know the two races. My team is 1 black, 1 Latino, 1 white, and 1 Asian, 2 men, 2 women, 2 animation, and two computer scientists. Give me a big hand for that. And that's, we like saying, the best example of STEAM you can find, okay? Thank you. All right. Yes.
Good morning, sir. First, I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your experience, your heart, and your passion in educational innovation.
Thank you.
I'm working with a program called Full STEAM Ahead.
Yeah.
Students in grades 6 through 12, helping to prepare them for college in the STEM disciplines with the arts.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Wonderful, noble idea. It's great.
Right.
I need for you to provide 2 strategies that will help me engage my parents so that they can begin to establish a college-going culture or a success culture at home.
Yes, it's excellent. The first strategy is to get I have another book coming out that's on looking at what happened in the civil rights movement to STEM achievement. But the first 2 books really are good for raising kids of color anyway in the sciences. One is on raising boys, the other is on raising girls, and they're still selling well. One is on called Beating the Odds, one is called Overcoming the Odds. Get those books because they have chapters for dads, chapters for mothers, and family members. Half the kids in those books were raised by grandmothers, for example. I mean, all kinds of family situations. But these are kids of all backgrounds who are really good in math and science, who go on to get PhDs. But it talks about what parents need to do at home at an early age. Turn the TV off. How many of you all students in the room do more reading than you watch TV? I got one or two. Anybody who wants to succeed is going to turn the TV off. Did you all hear that? Did you hear that? I mean, that's, you know, that's,
Thank you,
and what the book says is, and if you want the child to turn the TV off, you know what it means? That means the mama can't be watching Real Housewives of Atlanta. Mamas get real upset with me when I say that too. You know that, right? You cannot do it and expect your child not to do it. You get my point? That's important. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Michael Williams, and work for an organization called Year Up. And
yeah, I know Year Up.
Most of my students here from.
Oh yeah. No wonder y'all look so smart.
So I actually just came from D.C. Probably about 3 months ago to work for Year Up here in Jacksonville. Yeah. And I know the struggles of the public school systems in the D.C. and Baltimore area as we work with both students from those public school systems. I want to know your ideas of how the higher education system can influence public education and the community, because you have so many great universities in that area, and it's shocking to see how these schools, public schools in particular, struggle so much. In the Northeast. You
know, the sad part, let me tell you our area. I mean, you might ask the question, how can I tell you that on my campus, which is University of Maryland, Baltimore County, which is next to the airport, BWI, that we've got students from 150 countries, and we're probably 15 of the 11,000 undergrad, 3,000 grad. We're probably 15% black, about 5% Hispanic, about 20-some% Asian. That my average, and the rest white kids, that my average math score for all groups is close to 700, math SAT. So it's an honest place. It's extraordinarily smart. These are extraordinary. If you've taken the SAT, you get my point, right? 700 math SAT. You get my point? My top 40% have 4s and 5s on AP, AB, and BC calculus. You get my point? Now, they don't come out of Baltimore City. There's the challenge. I get some from Poly, for example, but most come from the school system, some from Prince George's County, Roosevelt High School, Baltimore County, Howard County, those counties, some from New York, from other states. It's a real challenge. I help a lot of kids go to smaller colleges. Mine is an honors science place. And here's the deal. Let me just be honest. It would not be fair for me to bring kids in who are not well prepared when I've got kids from China and Russia and India and Barbados who are well prepared with the British education system. My kids from other countries, and Lagos, right, or from Senegal with the French education, they are far superior to my white Americans. You see what I'm saying? But I get them to smaller places, and when they build up their background, sometimes like we can bring them up. We have a really strong Gates grant, big Gates to take kids who come from some of the two-year places, work with them, build up their background, then they can come in and compete in some of the STEM areas and some other areas. But they're not ready when they first start, because the kids who come to me in their freshman year are ready to work 6 hours a day. There's the difference, okay? From the inner city schools, unfortunately, they've not been prepared to work 5, 6 hours a day. Students, how many of you all are working 5, 6 hours a day, studying and homework? Let me see your hands. That's some. Give them a hand for that. I know that's right. Because let me tell you something. Smart means you work long hours. I don't care how. It's not just the homework, okay? It's much more than the homework. You get my point? Studying means you're not just doing those problems. You learn. You want to. You know what I tell my students? You're not just trying to get an A. It's easy to get an A. You want to get a really high A. You get that? You want to know why these answers work. You with me? There's a level beyond an A. Remember Dr. Hrabowski saying that? Said that man was crazy. He wanted me to get a really high A. You get it? You want to be going, I got an A. You don't know, the A is no big deal. You want to go to the next. And that's why I gave a quote last night from Browning, the Victorian poet, who said, that a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for. Write it down. That a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for. I want somebody, before I leave here today, to tell me what that means. That a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for. Tell me what it means, and why would I say that today? Okay? Thank you very much. Yes?
morning. Yes. I'm Ruth Spencer with Florida First Coast YMCA. I'm the teen director there. And I was wondering if you could please speak to how you teach the social competencies to your younger students so they can be successful in areas in addition to their academics.
That's exactly. You know, what I did mention is, in addition to the programs for the precocious children, I told the mayor about this, we supervise 500 first-time offenders, children, little boys, many of color, some little white kids, mainly boys who have committed non-violent crimes between the ages of 8 and 17. The court gives them a choice of being in our program or going to jail. We've been doing it 25 years, okay? We get them up in the morning. We make sure they're in school during the day. We actually bring them on campus several days a week. We have returning peace workers working with them. And we build community among these children, cohorts. We have cohorts with that group. We have cohorts with the kids who are in the Young Scholars Program. We have cohorts with the Meyerhoffs. We have other programs. We have cohorts with the women who are in the IT program. Let me give you one statistic, everybody. There has been a 50% drop in the percentage of women in America majoring in computer science. In the 80s, 36% of all computer science majors were women. Today, it's down to 18%. And even that group is heavily women whose parents are from other countries. Indian, Chinese, Nigerian, Barbados. In other words, white and black women, young women, whose parents have been here for generations, have not been encouraged to major in computer science. And when you look at the majority of jobs available in the country, there is a computing aspect. So it's a major problem. But so we have a program called CWIT. Look on my website. The Center for Women in IT, like the Meyerhoff program, like the Linehan Artist Scholar. We have all these programs, and in every one of them, the theme is building community. How do you get kids to work together, to support each other, to learn to talk, to express yourself, like a posse program. Okay? And that's the idea. With the Young Kids program, it's to get them to understand there are all kinds of intelligence. That just because you can understand things more quickly doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. And most important, although in every program we talk about, of those to whom much is given, much is required. You want to get them to be decent people. That's the theme. Okay? Thank you. Ronnie, would you give me some more water? Last question. Some more water. Would you some more? Last question.
Good morning.
Yes.
Name's Sean Stephen from the Europe program, Class 1 of Jacksonville.
Yes.
Really proud about that. Give a round of hand of applause.
Well, yeah.
My concern is mostly for your push for the library that you guys had on your campus. I really like how you guys collaborated with the students and pushed them together to have a group study.
Right.
How, as a whole, for our campus, that we can push for that study group in our libraries, because they kind of frown upon our group studies and they kind of push us away into a room kind of to ourselves. So if we can bring it out and show that education is good and see how everybody's collaborating and actually having a higher sense of education, how can we push that for
Well, let me say this. The message for the educators is hybrid. There are places where it's still traditional, because you need time for people to work alone, too. But there are special spaces, which may be what you have already. But it's that they got a special space, a large space, though, really large space, where they can do the kind of work I'm talking about. But there are other spaces where it's still the old-fashioned way. And so it depends on how large the spaces you get, okay? You may need more space than you're getting, depending on how many students you have.
Agreed.
Right? And the other point I would make about group work for the educators in the room, one of the really important points is how to teach students to work in a group. For example, you don't go to the group until you've tried to do all you can on your own. Because serious students don't want to spend time with people who are not serious about the work. So you want every person to come to the group knowing what you know and what you don't know. And then secondly, you set some guidelines about how much time for a break. Because serious students don't want to spend the time talking about the party from the night before. Very, very important. All right, I want everybody to learn this quote with me. Stand up. Everybody stand up. Come on, come on. Stand up. Stand up. Breathe deeply. This is about mindfulness. I'm going to test you on this very quickly. All right? And if you don't get it right, you got to give me $1 for scholarships on my campus. I'm serious. Here we go. All right. We're going to learn this quote. It's an anonymous quote. It's what I ended with. It's repeat after me. Thoughts, words, actions, habits, character, destiny. Again, thoughts, words, actions, habits, character, destiny. Now, mindfulness means you are learning this, because after this last time, then I'm going to question to see if you know it. You get my point? So don't just be saying this mindlessly, students. Make sure you know it. After this, you must know it on your own. You got me? So one more time, as you say it, mindfully memorize it. Thoughts, words, actions, habits, character, destiny. All right, here we go for the test. Watch your thoughts, they become your. Watch your words, they become your. Watch your actions, they become your. Watch your habits, they become your. Watch your character becomes your. You all get an A. Thank you all very much.